All right. Merry Christmas Eve, Josh.
Merry Christmas Eve.
Where are you today?
I'm in Minnesota.
Ooh,
Snowy Minnesota.
is it snowing?
Not currently, but we did get a couple inches. So I think
There's
we got
snow on the
about,
ground.
yeah, there's snow on the ground. So it's not
And
going to be a brown Christmas like last year.
what's the temperature outside?
Let's see. I'm sitting at, it's a heat wave. We're at 24 degrees.
That's it's like 8 below 0 centigrade or something, 7 or 8 below. I don't know, something.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, we're at a heat wave right now.
You wouldn't go
So,
outside with shorts and no shoes.
I mean, we're Minnesotan, so it's a heat wave. So
You might
probably.
only take out the trash. Quick,
But
back inside.
exactly.
Oh,
Yep.
great. Look, I really appreciate you doing this. We're going to have a brief technical overview of getting started with Eclipse. This is a new product. It's still in beta. People can download the beta and play with it.
Yep. Envision. I always get
Oh
conf-
my gosh.
I always get
Sorry
confused
about
with the
that.
names.
Can we
No
just
worries.
call it Enscape Pro and be done with it?
I wish. I wish. That's how the
Oh,
story's
okay.
supposed to go.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Let's just start over. Oh, Envision.
Do you
Yeah.
have a bunch of pinball machines in your basement?
Yes, I do.
That's so cool.
Everyone should.
I wish. That's so
It's
cool.
modern industrial art.
Absolutely.
So,
That's super
okay, you
cool.
got your Revit
Yeah.
file open on the left,
Yep.
and you've got an Enscape file open on the right.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about Envision, which is
Hmm.
not presently open yet.
Exactly.
All right.
Hmm.
And okay, before we get started with the technicals,
Hmm.
where does this fit in the workflow? Who would likely use this in an organization, and when would they use it?
Gotcha. So Envision is positioned to be basically like the Enscape companion. So when you need
Okay.
a storytelling piece, so when you need more advanced camera animation techniques, more when you need animation too, like so character animation. So you need people walking around, vehicles moving around, crowd simulations, those types of things. It's a great scene assembly tool as well too. So we'll see you can combine different files from different design applications, like any application that Enscape or V-Ray supports. So you can
Right.
think of all of those that we support already, and you can export models from there and bring all those inside of Envision, and you can assemble them together.
Oh,
So
and
it's
you
a
don't
really
have
good.
to go through any one application. So, like with Enscape, if you want to put the project in Enscape, you have to bring everything in to one design file. Like if you're going to look at it Revit, you got to link everything to Revit and then open it in Enscape.
Yep.
Whereas in Vision,
Yep.
you can export files individually from each of their design environments.
Yep. And even
Okay.
V-Ray as well.
And it'll
So any
handle
app.
big scenes.
Yep. That's one of the big powers of it. So, if you're struggling with Enscape, not handling large amounts of geometry or scenes,
Right.
you experience some crash and things like that, you can combine it. You can put all of that inside of Envision, and it will
I've
handle.
heard trillions of polygons. Like
Yeah, it'll handle
it just,
trillions of polygons.
that's fine.
Yep. And it's our standalone real-time ray tracing, 100% ray tracing standalone application.
Okay. So if you are a muggle like I am, right, caveman, and I don't want to learn how to use a complicated animation tool. So I like Enscape
Mm.
for that because it's really simple,
Yeah.
right? Super simple animation, or I should
Mhm.
say video creation tool. But to
Yeah.
your point, the camera lacks some advanced controls. Like you can't roll the camera in Enscape. Like if you're going around a curve and you want to just
Right.
roll the camera, that's not a thing Enscape can do. And
Exactly.
if you don't have enough time or you're not a specialist where you might learn how to use V-Ray, this is a
Right.
nice in the middle piece.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
This is a very nice in between, and we'll look at maybe not in this clip, but in the next one we can look at how to do these different camera animation techniques.
Okay.
How you
How
combine
long have you
multiple
been
different.
using?
How
How
long
long
have
have
you
you been
been
using this?
since the alpha came out
What, six
internally?
months? Less?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
About
cool.
6 months. Yeah.
Let's say you've got a file. So I got my architecture file open and I've linked in mechanical and the structure. Would
Mm.
you export that as one piece to Envision, or do you export each file individually? What's the best practice?
So I'd say best practice is to export it individually, and
Okay.
then you can combine all that inside of here. inside of Envision. We'll look at too how you can bring all of that in, and then I can pick individual elements too, say, by categories too. So anything that's deemed a wall or a window inside of, or inside of.
And same thing
Revit.
if you have separate design environments. So if you've got your Revit file, you've got a site file in SketchUp, you've got a building skin file in Rhino, you would export those pieces individually. You wouldn't.
Like the facade is designed in Rhino, like a crazy cool conceptual facade. Something else is designed, another part of the model is designed in SketchUp.
All right. So your Revit file is open, your Enscape file is open. So walk us, I think you've got a couple of prepared files that you've already exported for Envision, but walk us through the process of exporting this file or the piece of it that you're going to export.
So I'm going to take this whole model here. So all the models I will bring in are Enscape sample models. So you can definitely go to our website and try all those out as well. So
okay.
Yep. So you have to have Enscape launch first, and it's this VR scene button. So there's a handy little V-Ray button.
My understanding is you're going to work on scene exporters that just stand alone. You won't have to open it necessarily in Enscape.
So we already have those as well. So if you don't, so for those users that don't have V-Ray or Enscape, we do have a separate tool as well. So you install it, it'll sit in your toolbar, and you can export straight from inside of SketchUp and Rhino currently. Revit is coming.
Yep.
So to do this, all you have to do is click the VR scene button and then simply select the 3D view that you would like to export. So
why would that matter if you have multiple 3D views?
Because some 3D views might have different geometry inside.
Okay, for visibility states. So if you've got different visibility showing up. Gotcha. Okay.
Yep, exactly. So
this is your default 3D view, and that means you're going to get everything if that's what the view is showing. Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay,
I'm just going to take everything to show this. So, and we're just simply going to hit export. We're going to go to our file that we want.
Yep.
And then
we're going to put it in a good location. And
so Envision folder that I set up an Envision folder. So we're going to select folder, and then we're going to export. Now what this is going to do is this is going to take everything that's visible inside of Enscape and export that. So what's really cool about this is now for the first time you can bring your geometry out of Enscape and into Envision. What's really cool about this is this saves a lot of time and resources having to rebuild the model. So what this is going to do is take all of your Enscape assets, all your Enscape materials, things like that, all the geometry as well. And this
so the work that you've already done is going to be retained.
Exactly. Okay. So this is a huge, huge benefit because you don't have to start over.
And you don't need to keep the design file open anymore. Once that file is exported, you can close it. You can close Enscape and then open up Envision, which is the standalone environment.
Yep. Okay. Exactly. So when I'm ready to do storytelling, or when I need that piece to, scene exploration tool. So I'm launching Envision now on the left-hand side of my screen.
And you don't have to keep the design. You don't have to keep Revit open, but you could.
No. Okay. Yeah, you could if you want. So by default, here's what Envision looks like. So you have two ways to do this right now. So you can go
to do what? When you say do this, what's the
So you have two ways to bring that model that we just exported inside of Envision. So you have obviously open, and then you have import. So I can link a model and I can embed a model. Linking a model is, think of like a reference, like an XREF. I'm going to bring it in.
If it's linked. Oh, okay. Then you can make updates to the design file, push out, and then
I can say, I can save out
the link.
Yeah, I can. Once I make changes, I simply save out another VR scene file as the same name, and then put it in the same location, and all the changes I made to the Revit model are going to update. Now, what's really cool about this is if I made changes inside of Envision to, say, putting assets in there, things like that, it's not going to overwrite those. Those are all going to stay the same.
But if you assign a material to something and the geometry moves, it maintains that material assignment with the moved geometry.
Exactly. Yep. So I'm simply just going to click open for this one.
Yep.
And I'm going to go to Envision. So we're going to go to Envision, and I'm going to take my new 3D view that I just created here. So we can see it created this new file for me, and then it created a folder as well that's going to contain all my data.
Okay.
So I'm going to simply click Open. And then also the embed, it's just going to simply embed that file inside of the Envision.
There's no link
file.
with an embed.
Yep, exactly. Yep. So now that this is opening, there we go. So now we can see, I can click my cameras up here.
Right.
And I have this cool little camera option right here. So I can click rendered view, and I'm simply going to go to perspective. And now that model is inside of Envision. And we can see, we'll get into this in a second, but we can see all these little gizmos.
Yeah.
What these
what are those gizmos?
Yeah. So these are all of our lights that came over from Revit.
Okay, so studio lights, lights and family components.
Yep.
And you can control those. You can.
Yep. So if I simply click on one of them, notice on the right-hand side here, my details panel, I'm going to get some information about that. So base properties, intensity, color, things like that. And I'll be able to move those as well if I need to.
Okay.
So.
Can you add additional lights?
Yep. So we can get into that like once we start flying
So
around.
you're not really dependent entirely on things being correct in the design file. Somebody could get started and do it good enough, and then you can pull it in and start doing lighting, material options. Well, maybe not material options. Maybe you may wait for the geometry to come across, but at least you could start figuring out where things are, setting up cameras, pre-visualization.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. So now what we can do here too is, so let's go to meshes, and we can see on the left-hand side here under our objects panel, we can see everything that has been brought in. So here's our one file. Now if we toggle down, we can see all the different properties that came in. So doors, floors, furniture, planting.
Okay, so you can still control visibility at the object level if you need to sort of focus on an area.
Exactly. And since you mentioned the object level, we can click on any object inside of the scene here and simply manipulate that and move it around if we need to.
Okay, so you can do animation of objects that are imported or linked. Yep. And you could do further animations, like you've got cars. If you have people, I think we have some standalone assets with the with people and entourage. Very
exactly. Cool. Yep. So maybe in the next one we'll talk about animation, how you can do animated people and vehicles, those types of things.
Yeah. So when you keep using this term storytelling, whereas Enscape is just I don't know. Enscape is used for live design exploration. Change the design file, see it update over here.
Yeah.
When you refer to this as storytelling, the idea of having your building assemble, pieces drop on the site, having elements move around. Are you seeing those in real time as you explore, or would you see those in the animation that you've created for that storytelling product?
So what you would do is you would set up the animation inside of our video animation tool. Again, we'll dive more into this in a later one.
Yeah, we'll do an advanced one, but this is just the getting started one. Yeah, got it.
Yep, exactly. So what you would do is you can set up different variations. So this is where you can have infinite scene variations. So anything you want could be animated. So doors opening. So you'd have one variation where it's the door closed and another variation where the door is open.
Right.
And then you would grab that scene variant and you would put that down on the timeline variant here. And then you would just set the time and the duration, and then it would transition in between that door opening and closing.
Right. Nice.
Same for, if you want to do like the TV effect, the HGTV effect, where it's, objects start way up high. And they drop down.
They drop into place, showing how things are assembled from interior to exterior pieces. You can change materials. Let's say the architect has used a material for something, but in this process of storytelling, you want to see a higher level of fidelity or resolution. How would you like the facade of the building? Can we change the material for the facade to something else, just as an option?
Yep. So one of the big benefits is if you want higher realism, we do have the access to Chaos Cosmos now directly built inside of here. So Chaos Cosmos is the library. Think of like the Enscape asset or the Enscape asset library or Enscape material library, but for all Chaos products. So V-Ray, Phoenix. So what you can do as well is, you mentioned materials. So let's say we want some different brick materials. So here is where you get all of these different material options as well.
Right.
Yep. And what you can do this one of two ways. You can simply click and drag, and you can see that material applied.
Everything that was
on.
assigned that material has just been assigned a new
Yep.
material. There's
Exactly.
lots of kind of getting started materials in Revit where things just need to be kind of close
Exactly.
enough for design
Yep.
intent. But when you want to tell a story,
Exactly.
the next person is going to say, no, I've got a really good brick, or let's think about this.
Exactly.
And it's just drag and drop.
Just
and
drag
these,
and drop.
to your point, these are iterated elements. Like you can have one variation with a brick and another variation with a tile, and just
exactly.
And that's all part of the storytelling product that comes out of it.
Yep. Exactly. So you can animate in between materials as well. So it's really cool. I was playing around and trying it out. So now I can hit embed. So now I'm going to be able to expose the parameters of that material. What's really cool is you can do a mix of the materials. So I can start mixing and matching between different materials. So if I want to see a nice transition in between materials, kind of do a nice subtle fade in between materials.
Right.
Yeah. And then again, you can also set that up as a variant as well. So you could have a variant of its, metal facade, wood facade, and then the next one's brick. So it can transition between those ones.
And your product, when you've got things the way you like, the product is going to be an animation of some sort of movie file. You're going to set up your keyframes, you're going to animate between them, and then you go into post.
Exactly.
So we've got lighting, we've got materials, and then what about assets? What do we have in the way of components to set dress to make this look more natural, more realistic?
So for our assets, let's say we want more people or anything like that. So we do have our own asset library in here as well. So, let's say we want more trees for right now. So vegetation.
Okay, so for you're not dependent on the design file, like spending a lot of time early in design to do a very complete looking visualization. It's like, no, just give that to visual professional. Let them figure out that detail.
Yep, exactly. And it's same thing too. Just click and drag. So you pick the asset that you want, just click and drag it inside of the model.
And polygons don't matter. Like these trees are incredibly detailed.
Yep. Polygons do not matter. So very realistic trees as well. I'm just going to hide all my light. I'm going to hide my light gizmos real quick. So give us a better look. But yeah, you can see much more higher quality for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then,
so we have people and trees. Is that it?
People, trees, vehicles. Vehicles are a lot more detailed. Because remember, with the Enscape asset library, they were built for real-time rendering. So
right. So you're probably limiting the amount of polygons in Enscape in order to allow for fast refreshes.
Yep. And we did some, our 3D artist team is amazing at creating the high poly looking versions inside of Enscape using some, very creative techniques to make the low poly version inside of Enscape and then make the illusion of the extremely high poly detail count inside of Enscape, but it's still very low weight and still maintains a high, frames per second count. Whereas V-Ray whereas Cosmos, they're purpose built for, photorealistic rendering. So they're going to be much higher quality.
Okay.
So we can take any model that we want, and click and drag again.
So with this environment, the assets can also be animated. So you can bring in your planting, bring in your people, bring in cars, and then animate their movement.
Yeah. So here we can just look at, this car is obviously much more detailed.
Yeah, I think the grill on that car would choke Enscape.
Yeah.
But that's not the purpose of, like in Enscape, it's like, well, I'm not trying to design cars. I'm not trying to design the universe. I'm trying to focus on these spaces, this building. I kind of look at this in a way that Envision is outside the building looking in, and Enscape is inside the building looking out. And it just depends on what you're trying to accomplish.
But exactly. You said it earlier, like Enscape is perfect for quick iterations, design iterations, when you get your client sitting right next to you. Like it's perfect for that.
What do you think a reasonable
fast.
time frame is for? We want to have an animation of the entire project with people with lifelike activity. How long is it going to take for a good first pass? Are we talking about a couple days?
No, talking a couple hours, if
Couple
that.
hours. So if you want it in 3 seconds,
Like,
Enscape. If you
yeah.
want it in 3 hours, Envision.
Well, yeah, and remember with Enscape, it's just camera animations, and you can only do
Right.
one.
And you're
camera
really
animation
exploring
at-
it live. You want to do that
Yeah.
A/B testing of the design file, whereas in
Yep.
this environment, I don't want to necessarily see that fine detail of
Right.
how the building is being figured out. I want to figure out the overall site, and I don't want to be constrained by, oh my gosh, our site is huge, and
Yeah.
we have to open up all of that stuff in Revit so we can open all that stuff in Enscape.
Well, you have to break up the model too because file size can become a thing.
Yep.
Whereas this, you can just do it all inside of here. And back real quick to your animation point, one of the other things with Enscape is you can only export one camera at a time. So if I'm going from point A to point B inside of Enscape, that's fine. But if I want to have multiple different cameras, like doing different animations, I can't do that in one timeline. I have to combine all those inside of a separate program like
Right.
Adobe Premiere Pro or Camtasia or something like a video editing tool. Whereas in Vision, I can set up different cameras doing different animations. So I could have it going across the building. I can have one going up. I can have one inside of the interior. I can combine all that in one timeline and export that as one clip.
Would that be a good way to, would you think about it in terms of, if I want to see it live, that's Enscape. If I want to animate it and create a product, that's Envision. Like with more sophisticated camera control. Okay.
Yep. If I want that presentation piece.
Right.
Yeah. That presentation tool.
Do you think this is a good introduction? Should we stop there and that's enough? I mean, somebody can download the beta now and then.
Yeah. You can definitely download the beta and try it out on our website. Just Google Chaos Envision or go to our website, chaos.com/envision.
That's a good introduction.
Yeah.
So for the next time, if we want, I want to do this again and go in a little more detail on like lighting, materials, and then animations. Like how do you animate vehicles? How do you animate people?
Exactly.
Do you have to place people one at a time, or can you animate whole crowds and activity?
Yep.
So
exactly. So we can dive into that in our next one.
All right. Thank you, Josh.
Yeah. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks for having me. Merry Christmas Eve. And
have a great day.
If I don't talk to you.
Don't go outside in shorts and no shoes. It'll be cold. If you slip and fall, you'll get hurt.
Yeah.
We don't want that.
No, they wouldn't be good. Done that one too many times.
Oh, this is great. Thank you so much, buddy.
Yeah.
Have a Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Thank you. Merry Christmas.